welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with a daily race from the American servers. Now this was actually streamed a few weeks ago when it was the Group 1s at the 1 team. So starting from P3, I was supposed to be starting from the back of the grid, and I accidentally went over the line when I was just warming up in time trial. It wasn't a particularly good lap, it was about 3 seconds off I think my EU time, maybe more, but it was good enough to start P3 on the American servers, as you can see there. In the Audi Group 1 car for this, in P4 behind me is Randall, I think it is, in the Toyota, a very fast driver on the American servers. He's actually in my esports team, he's been taken on by esports cars. He was too young to attend the FIA official season. I think he would have been there, but he was just too young to get there. So a very fast driver. We can see we're just ahead of him. We've got some drivers in front of us. Also in the Audi, I think one of them might be two Audi drivers in front of us. All three in the front are in the Audi. The Toyota behind me, one thing about the Toyota is its ability to save a little bit more fuel than the Audi. I've noticed. I noticed it when we were at Brands Hatch the other day in the Group 1s when we were streaming also. But you can see in this race, going through there, got massive amount of understeer, nearly clipped the wall, just about avoided it. Lucky not to clip the tyre wall on the right hand side, then lose a lot of time, because we just got a massive amount of understeer when we were in the dirty air, and we lost a lot of time, but luckily just staying in the slipstream. And then P4 Randall there, car Randall behind, giving us a little boost down straight. You can see he's not going to try and pull out, he's going to just boost us forward and get us back into that slipstream. So going into the braking now, we just got to try and hook these corners up, try and get back into a rhythm and get back into that slipstream, and try and be patient with everything. Obviously at this stage of the race you really want to be in P2, that's the best place to be. This was a no stopping race, there was no need to pit, the tyres were fine to last 5 laps, and the fuel you're going to see as I'm driving, I'm not revving the car, and when I'm getting to the end of the straights, what I was doing, you'll be able to go back and check the stream. I will try and find the link to the stream that this was done on and put it in the description, but you'll see what I was doing. I was going to the fuel mixture and I was adjusting the fuel mixture as I was driving towards the end of the straight. So going into mixture 4, 5 and 6, etc., just to save the fuel towards the end of the straights. And what I was doing when I was shifting, you'll see, is doing a lot of short shifting. But at this stage I knew that my main competitor was behind me, was Car Randall, so I wanted to get past P1 as soon as possible. You see, starting to get the slipstream down the straight, probably saving a bit of fuel at this stage because there was no point trying to make a move there. I wasn't going to get past, and the best place to try and do it is on the next straight, try and get past on that part of the track. As you can see there, not able to turn in there. He held a very nice defensive line in the tech corner, was having a little look around the outside to try and get a nice wide exit to square the car off, but he did actually hold a really good defensive line, which prevented me getting on the power as early as I would have liked. However, going down the straight, we actually went 3 wide. You can see all 3 cars side by side. Myself and Randall actually get ourselves into P1 and 2. I managed to hold the car around the outside, just about round there, and get the car into the apex just in time to take the corner and hold on to P1. But just look how close this racing is with 3 Group 1 cars all battling it out and really close together and trying to get ourselves into the lead of this race. A really close battle going on. As you can see, I run really wide out there, got a massive amount of understeer, didn't hook up the entry to that apex. I am aware you can pick up a penalty from that apex. You might have seen me pick up an insane penalty when I was streaming just yesterday. I think we picked up a 27-second penalty for cutting that corner ever so slightly, so do be cautious on this week's race in the X 2014 on that corner. It's just a warning for anyone doing it, just be cautious. You can pick up an insane penalty. As you can see, Randall manages to get himself, Randall I think it is, gets himself into P1, and now we're in the position that I really would have preferred to be in now, because the Toyota I knew would have better fuel saving ability and it's a bit faster when doing short shifting. So for me it's better to hang on in his slipstream, save some fuel. He's probably going to keep about similar to fuel to myself because that car's a little bit faster in the straight line. It's probably not quite as good through the corners as the Audi. I think my Audi was a bit better on the corners, and then the boot, I think my hybrid system might have been a bit better also. But what that Toyota is very competitive when it's short shifting, so it's better for me to just hang on in this slipstream at this stage. And you can see what I'm doing now, I'm just hanging on in there. I could have overtook him at this phase and got a massive slipstream, but I decided to use that mixture into level 6 basically and just save the fuel at this point and not worry about getting past him. There's no point battling. If we start battling, we lose time in the end. And also, I've got a car behind me, but as long as I've got the slipstream of the car in front and then I start revving it, I should be able to just hold on to this P2 and not really come under attack too much from P3. and you can see that's what's worked. You see I've managed to hold on to that P2, and P3 is probably doing a very similar thing to what I'm doing there. No point wasting fuel, might as well just hang in there and pick our opportunity. You know, Le Mans is so important. Is so important to pick your timing right for when you do your overtake. It's always got to be on the last lap, in my opinion, if you're in the slipstream, because if you get in the lead on lap 4, they're going to probably pick you off on lap 5. So I always recommend, especially with this week, this is quite a good time to do this video. This is why I've done this video this week, because we have the Red Bull X 2014 at Le Mans, and it's pretty much identical race. It's a lap longer, but we're in the faster car. There's no need for fuel saving this time though, and the tyres do last a full 6 laps. So what I recommend doing is just 100% trying to hang in. If you're in an equal battle with someone else, there's no point trying to just keep overtaking and getting lead. Just try and save that overtake until the final lap and judge it. You really want to be overtaking on the straight that we've just gone on there, so that you're in the lead through these corners, because then if you feel you can push a little bit harder through these corners and build up, you need about half a second to 6 tenths going onto this straight. Now this is the straight then where if you've got a large enough gap, you should be able to defend going into the really fast right hand corner, because it's such a fast corner. If you just go defensive on the inside, it's very hard for a car to go around the outside, and normally you'll find you're just ahead anyway, so you can actually take the normal racing line. But you can see a lot of battling going on behind myself for P3 and 4. 2 other cars involved with this battle for the lead in this race. Someone else has got himself right up there. I think the other driver was probably on an actual pit stop strategy, and that's how he's managed to get himself right back into this battle while we're all maintaining fuel. He's obviously driving aggressive because he did actually drop back quite a bit. But this race was all about saving fuel, not pitting. The reason for the not pitting at Le Mans is the pit lane loss is very high. So again, for the Red Bull X 2014 this week, you do not want to pit, because if you do pit, you're going to lose an insane amount of time in the pits, and it's not worth it. You won't gain back the time over like 2 or 3 laps on the fresher tyres. It's just, you're only going to gain a few seconds. You're not going to gain back enough time to get the full 15 seconds back from the pit lane loss. So that's my advice for this week's race. It's, you know, very similar to this Group 1 race we're watching right now. As you can see, homing in on Car Randall again, and just trying to stay in that slipstream. This is all this is about at the moment. You can see I'm short shifting a lot. I'm shifting about 50% on every gear change, and that was just to save the fuel and ensure that on the final lap, when I need to make a move, that I've got the fuel to really use the revs up. And it's really hard to judge. You had to do this anyway to get the no stopper working at this track. You had to be cautious in the Audi with the fuel. I didn't actually try the Toyota hybrid, which I think I should have done on this, because I think it was a better race car. So next time this is on, I think I will try that Toyota, because I think for qualifying the Audi was better, but I think for the race, when the fuel came into play for a no stopper, the Toyota was probably the best option, because you can short shift and gate and still go very fast down the straights, and it's fairly good on the tyres as well. The Toyota is a bit better on the tyres, I believe. Judging by the Brands Hatch race that I had against the Porsche, which the Porsche is a very good car. We know that the Porsche 919 hybrid is an extremely good car, but I noticed that Kelsey was using his tyres up a bit more, and his fuel was dropping a lot faster than what mine was. Some of it was because I was short shifting, but I was still able to keep quite good acceleration with short shifting. Just through the corners, the Porsche tends to be a bit faster, and I think the Audi's a bit faster than the Toyota through the corners. But you know, at Le Mans, there's no need to worry about corner pace really. It's more about the straight line acceleration. You can see down the straights that Toyota just shoots off, and he's still not revving that car out flat out, because he's got to do a bit of fuel saving, not as much as we have to do behind him, but he's still got to do some. And it shows you how competitive that car is for race conditions when you've got to save fuel, because it's just got the acceleration, it's got the top speed. He's doing a great job in the lead there, and this is just helping me really, because he's driving so well in front. I knew I could just hang on in there, because if I needed to just get back into the slipstream, all I had to do was just rev the car out a bit more, or just not use as much of the lower mixtures at the end of the straight. I could go up to, like, instead of going up to level 6 or 5, I can just go to level 2 or 3 at the end of the straight, and just get that extra few miles per hour that would just pull me back into that draft and give me the ability of that extra few miles per hour down the straight. Again, going through these corners, you can see trying to get a nice solid exit from that corner. That corner is really important to not get too much steering angle in, and if you get the rears loose, you lose a lot of traction, and then you lose the boost down the straight. You can see the hybrid systems, you can see him visually working when, as he comes out the corner, he boosts away, and then we get the boost and we boost back up to him. It's really interesting inside. That's why I've done the video on the hybrid system. At this point, we kind of knew about the hybrid system of going to the rear bias. That's why we were on, I think we were on 3 to the rear for this race, which worked a bit better. We was trying 5 before this race, and it was just a bit too much. Now 3 to the rear wouldn't have been giving us quite as much hybrid power as 5. However, it was a little bit more balanced through the corners and was actually probably over a lap a little bit faster probably at this track, because on certain corners it wasn't kicking the rear, especially when the tyres were going, because this was a no-stop race, and when the tyres started to fade, it was keeping them tyres in a little bit better condition and not obviously losing the rear going into the heavy braking zones. You can see going into lap 4 now. Now we're coming to the phase where we want to be getting a little bit closer. You can see we've actually dropped out of this slipstream slightly, so what I needed to do was still obviously save some fuel, short shifting, but try and get into that slipstream and push a little bit harder through the corners, and just make sure that I'm within that 1 second gap to P1 for the final lap. So this lap 4 now is really important to get myself back reasonably close to him. You can see I'm going to probably use a little less mixture down this straight now as we run really wide through there. I actually cut the corner ever so slightly on that the entry, which then forced me wide on the exit. I think we picked up a penalty for that. It was only I think it was like 1.5 or 1 second penalty. But the thing with penalties at this track is very much like the Red Bull Ring, there's a certain corner in Group 1 where, because you go into the corner kind of coasting a little bit, you're off the throttle and off the brakes, it tends to get rid of the penalty. So something they do need to look at, Polyphony, for some of these cars at certain combinations, you can get rid of penalties. I'm sure that when they introduce the new penalty system, that will sort all this out and we won't be able to do any of that. But you can see, looking back at myself, starting to pick that slipstream up there, and what I did at that point was use again a little bit more richer fuel mixture to get closer to him. And now I'm pretty much in the zone I want to be. I'm picking up that slipstream. I've just got to make sure I hook the corners up without driving too aggressive, so trying to make sure I'm getting nice and early to the apex. We're in that dirty air, so you do need to be very cautious of and aware of that dirty air, because you can wash out the front end and you just lose grip on that front, and you just kind of want to brake a fraction earlier than what you normally would do when you're in this dirty air, and just try and keep with the car in front. You can see doing a really good job so far. P3 has actually dropped back a little bit now. We've got a little bit of a gap to P3. You can just see, I don't know if he pops in on the top right corner. No, not really in play for this race. You can see he's dropped back about 2-3 seconds. There they are, P3 and 4. A couple of seconds back now as we come to the end of lap 4. And I think actually P4 is actually going to pit at the end of this lap and go off into the pits for fuel, because he probably wasn't doing any fuel saving in this race up to this point. But you can see again now just how close we're getting to that slipstream. We could have again probably have used more higher mixture in the revs and obviously pushed higher and got past him there, but there was no point. I wanted to be patient. Patience is what wins you races at Le Mans. You've really got to just hold on and be patient. Go for the move at the correct time. You can see it was just waiting back and just saving the fuel still, just trying to hang in there, hang in the slipstream and wait for the right time. There was no point hustling the car and hustling him around track, because we don't want to lose. I didn't want to lose time battling with this driver in front. You can see there's 2 cars not far behind now. They're only about 3-4 seconds behind, so if there was any battling, contact, penalties, stuff like that, you don't want to lose that position to them drivers that are behind us. So going through this section nice and smooth, probably using fuel mixture 2. I would have been using something like that, not using the full mixture, just saving a little bit of fuel. And I'm sure you can check it out on the stream when we streamed it, and I will, like I said, I will try and find the link to that stream so you can watch this race as and when it happened. We did have I think we did quite a few races in America. Some races didn't go quite as well as others. Obviously it's always the same story, some races are good, some races aren't so good. But now we're coming up to the important lap. So this is the lap that we need to make sure that we get past him. And like I say, we want to do it on that straight, that long straight, before we go through to the final twisty section, because that is probably the safest place to go for the overtaking. It's more likely to get an overtake done there. You can risk it and do it before that really fast right hand corner. However, the possibility is that you're not going to pick up a big enough slipstream, and you've got to then ensure getting a really strong exit from the tight right hand corner. So where I always go for it is the long straight, and we'll show you that as we get there. You can see running really wide again through there. The massive amount of understeer as I was picking up the slipstream. I was around the 8, 9, 10 behind. Massive amount of understeer off the front end. The tyres were faded. Trying to give it all now because I wanted to get in that slipstream enough. You can see them gaining. But again, we're gonna probably save some fuel at this point. Again, get within 5 tenths of him, 6 tenths of him. That's how far I want to be behind at this phase, because I want to be able to actually pick the slipstream up and get past him without the ability for him to tuck back in and get back past me. So that's one thing you need to be aware of also, is when you judge your overtake, you want to make sure that when you get it done, that they're not going to have enough slipstream and straight left to get back past you. You know, this is the final lap, this is the lap that counts. This is where the race is kind of going to begin. It is a very tactical and slow build up. I do understand that this is how you need to run these races at Le Mans. This is how you're going to win races, and you will find a lot of the top players will do this. They'll just hang on in there and save their fuel for that last lap, and then try and push. Some can counter that obviously by, if they're in the lead, do the exact same thing and then really push on that final lap and try and keep you out of the slipstream. It's just very much a battle of tactics at Le Mans, especially in Group 1 cars with such a really strong slipstream that you gain. So going into this really technical right hand corner there, you can see picking up that slipstream, got a really nice solid exit, and now we're on the straight, we're at the perfect distance to pick up the slipstream, and this is where we're going to go for it. You can see the difference now. We're going to go full fuel mixture, and watch the difference in closing speeds now from before. We're getting right up alongside, we're going to go round the outside, and we're going to get in front of him before that corner, and this is perfect now because there's not enough straight for him to get back past us before this really fast section. So we're still in the lead, and now this is a battle now right the way to the end. You can see braking for the left hand corner, and then into the really important, as he gets a massive oversteer moment as he's trying to get on the power to try and get back past them. This is a corner where we need a really solid exit. We managed to get the power down nicely. He struggles a little bit where he's trying to get on that power nice and early, and I think we've done it now. You can see we've built up enough of a gap now for him really not to be able to get back in our slipstream and make it back past. Obviously he might have to be still doing some fuel saving to get to the finish. We've managed to hold on to the lead in the most important section, because now there's not really an overtaking opportunity all the way to the finishing line in Group 1 cars, because it's just so fast flowing. You're not going to be able to get on the brakes before any braking zone because it's so fast through there. You're travelling at extreme speeds. You can see running wide again with that loss of grip on the front tyres. The front tyres, we're starting to feel that loss of grip as we go on board now into the braking zone, trying to make sure we brake nice and early. We don't want to make a mistake and run too far in. We actually brake a little bit late for this corner. You can see clipping the curb, but it's okay now. We've got to get rid of the penalty. He actually had a bit more penalties than we did. We go over the line and managed to take P1. So a really interesting race and a great battle on GT Sport in the Group 1 cars at Le Mans. And I just wanted to give that advice because I thought it's quite handy for this week with the same race on, but with obviously the faster Red Bull X 2014. So I hope you enjoyed that race. I thoroughly enjoyed it. We're going to be back with more of these videos. I do have the FIA Americas race to upload. It's going to be taken from the replay footage again because I did stream it. I will link in again the link for that because the EU race was on that stream as well. So when I upload that, you'll be able to check them all out and watch the live race after I upload the replay footage from the Americans FIA Nation. And it was in a top split race, so it was really enjoyable to be in a top split FIA Nations race in the Americas region as well. So hope you enjoyed that. We're going to be obviously streaming again as much as possible and uploading as many videos as possible, and we will be back with another tips video as soon as possible. Once I've got the brake balance video sorted, I will be bringing that out. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed. Make sure you click that notification button so you don't miss any future videos, and I'll see you all again soon. Thanks again for watching, everyone.